Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video, it's a time package from China time. So this was a highly requested product. A lot of you wanted to see it here on the channel, so let's do a quick unboxing and see what is going on with this. This is the Kinhank Mini KP100. So this is basically on the N100 Mini PC, what I understand of, and running with Batocera. So this is going to be a combination deal with a hard drive and a controller. So not the PlayStation 2 fake controllers that we have seen many times before. We're getting the Batocera T3. So this is going to be a significant improvement. And then the hard drive itself. And that's it. There is nothing much going on with this kit. So first of all, what you're getting is of course a mini PC, something you can just make yourself if you want to. But something I'm going to be explaining what I mean with that. So the mini PC, I don't know how the overall quality is going to be. That is something we're going to be figuring out throughout, let's say, the review, but also if we're going to be using this for a longer time period. So when it comes to this device, it's a very mini device, meaning that this is a very compact design and doesn't utilize a 2.5-inch drive that we've seen before with the Batocera. But the configuration is quite interesting, also kind of weird. So what is not weird is that we do have an audio out. We do have two RJ45 connections, so that makes no sense to me if you ask me, but like, why would you have like two of them for just Batocera use? Having the 12 volt, then over here we're having 3 HDMI outs. Yeah, and also that's thinking more like a Windows thing that you connect to 3 monitors, but for Batocera it doesn't make any sense again to having at least 3 of them. And as front we're having the switch for on and off, and that's it, like USB ports. And the overall design, it's basic. So the model number of the PC itself, okay, and here you can actually see what is going on. So this is actually the HSI 100 Mini. The Alder Lake N100 is inside of this thing. 16 GB of RAM, we're having a ROM of 5 and 12 GB for the Windows, and that's actually it. What is convenient, we're having a 12 volt 3 amp for actually, for just powering on the device. What I love about it, simply because if these things are getting broken, you can replace them fairly easy. But how about the manual and everything else? So we're having the user manual, and this is just a user manual for the PC itself, not for the Batocera use whatsoever. The power supply, let's see what kind of quality this is. So the overall quality is very lightweighted. So it's one of those, yeah. So then we do have a bracket, so that's kind of cool if you want to put it behind a monitor. And just a basic HDMI and the needed screws to screw this thing, or at least put this thing behind your monitor itself. But I said already, you can make it yourself. So they're selling these hard drives separately. So there's nothing special about this. This is just a hard drive you can buy separately and different kind of formats. I think it's called 500 GB, 1 TB and 2 TB, or in other words called the Super Console X hard drive. So the Kinhank portable hard drive is something of a Batocera. You can just download it for free and build your own image if you want to. You can even do it really cheap. You can see in here that there is a normal hard drive, nothing fancy when it comes to that. I do have the feeling, even the sticker over here, that this is going to be some refurbished or old hard drive they are reusing again. But again, if you're going to be buying this separately, you're grabbing your own mini PC. I did like tons of different videos. You can just make yourself a Batocera machine for almost nothing or really cheap. The Batocera T3 wireless game controller. So this is absolutely a big improvement over the other crappy products, or at least the controllers that we're getting with these other devices from the plug and play situations. So I'm very glad they went for, like say, a different approach. However, only getting one controller, so you need to buy a second one. So what is cool, we do have like a dongle, plug and play situation. Of course, you can use this controller for all kinds of different devices. They include, of course, the manual of the Batocera. So if you have any questions about it, how you need to configure, set it up and stuff like that, it's all in here. But the overall quality of the controller, I am very surprised. It does have like a very nice way to it and very cool design. A little bit of a PlayStation 4 vibe when it comes to the shell, and it's very comfortable with two very cool, nice joysticks. We do have like overall great configuration. I love the A, B, Y, X, Y buttons because of the form factor. They are very comfortable. And then of course the D-pad itself. So yeah, I'm very glad they went from the crappy PlayStation 2 stuff to a real brand. But when it comes to the Kinhank Mini, this is more like a plug-and-play solution. I already mentioned you can build it yourself fairly cheap with just an old PC and then Batocera drive, but still this is more like a quick plug-and-play solution, or at least let's see how quick it is. Let's plug it in and see if it's any good. But let's take a close look at the main menu. When everything's plugged in, you automatically get into the Batocera. We do have a lot of different systems like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. However, compared with, let's say, some other PCs I've been checking out, the N100 is capable of running a lot, but it still comes with a lot of limitations. Not the limitation that we have seen before, for example Sega Saturn with those cheap game boxes. We can actually play those quite nice and even do a little bit of an upscaling, but that is a different story. So when it comes to 8-bit and 60-bit, if you only want to play that, you don't need to buy such an expensive mini PC, well, a plug-and-play solution, because we can run that on, let's say, most common game boxes now. I think the most interesting part is going to be into the more demanding stuff, and I think that is going to be actually what we're going to be focusing on today mainly, because there is so much we can play, but in the end, like 3DO, many systems that didn't run before, we can actually run them now quite well. But let's press start and let's take a close look into the system settings. In here we're finding every information about, let's say, the device. So one of the things I do want to point out before we're going to be deep diving into that, you're going to be messing with the video, but particularly the audio settings, with the simple reason because the audio profile is not be set to the right configuration and sometimes you don't have any audio. That is one of those common problems with these boxes. That's very easy to fix. Next up, we're having over here the version. They're using Batocera 39 at this moment, making this video. We're only having the 500GB version. That's going to be enough for, let's say, PlayStation 1. But if you're going to be collecting like PlayStation 1, 2, 3 and all the other ones, 500GB is not going to be cutting it. Next up, we're having the CPU model, the N100, that is having 4 cores running on 3004 MHz maximum. And yeah, when it comes to the temperature, it says like 87 Celsius. And whoa. If that is correct, that is really hot and that is not going to be good in the long run. And I've been running it like idle for, let's say, an hour or so at this moment, making this video. So, and overall, but GPU wise, if you're going to be looking into that, you can just actually see the onboard Intel one. I'm not the biggest fan of this because the AMD version we've been testing on older chipsets are quite powerful and had like overall better performance. But for now, it will do okay for most of the emulation we're going to be testing out. So when you're going to be choosing a game, what you're going to be seeing over here is that we're having a tiny screenshot at the right. I do find the hard drive quite slow because sometimes you do notice that it's going to be loading up the certain files. And when you're pressing A, it will automatically boot up into the game. And that's it. That's the only thing that we're going to be needing to do. But if you're going to be looking into the emulation of the arcade stuff, we can do some really cool things in here. So we're using the wireless functionality of the controllers now and not the one with the cable. You can plug it in and it will notice that you're going to be plugging it and connecting it with a USB cable if you want to, if you don't want to use the wireless functionality. I don't notice any delay whatsoever with the controller. But emulation is going to be a lot of fun. And this runs perfectly without any problem whatsoever. So limitation wise, I think we can play a lot of cool arcade stuff. Particularly when it comes to Killer Instinct and MAME. You do have the option to actually play that on here. But the games that are going to be challenging for these devices are going to be the Atomic Wave, of course. So if you do have some stutters or overall bad emulation, you can also go back to the main menu where we're going to be tweaking different emulators to see which one will run perfectly with this particular game. But the overall performance is so much more significant better than all the other boxes that we have checked out throughout the years. And this is, by the way, a really cool game. Absolutely a hidden gem. But let's get into some San Francisco Rush. Oh man, this brings me back to the memories of the N64. I think it was one of the first time I ever experienced these games. However, getting into the 1080p or running Flycast, yeah, you can see that it struggles big time. Just wanted to see how far we can push it. Maybe tweak the different emulator, but just I think 720p is going to be a safer option if you want to play this game. You can see it really struggles big time. It's just fun to see how far we can push this N100. But we're not going to be giving up on the Sega Dreamcast, so let's lower the resolution. Let's try a different game that is also quite challenging to emulate and see how stable the frames per second is. So this is one of the things I just wanted to see how far we can push it. Native resolution, I'm not going to be afraid that we're going to be having bad overall performance. It's just fun to see how far we can push this thing. Yeah, and maybe this is a bottleneck because of the CPU getting really hot from the start. So we're going to be changing out different games, but I even want to do a little bit upscaling on, let's say, even more lower resolutions, but just to see how the performance is. But somehow this box don't really like going on with this when it comes to, let's say, the performance. You can see every single game that I'm putting on this freaking device struggles. But let's get into some other games with Sega Dreamcast just for doing a little bit of test benching to see how far we can push this freaking thing. But we're not going to be pushing it any, let's say, like in resolutions with a simple reason. This thing is heating up like crazy. With an 87 Celsius, man, this is not going to be any good. Yeah, so this is one of the biggest downsides when it comes to this particular device, hitting 30 frames per second at the moment. And even dipping to 20 sometimes. This is absolutely a horrible experience when it comes to Sega Dreamcast and the overall testing. At this point I just wanted to focus on the native resolution to see how and where and what. But yeah, I think the overall problem with this device is that even with full load, it's just hitting constant 88 Celsius. The frames per second or every game we're going to be booting up, including this particular one, it's not going to be hitting the full frames per second. And that is quite unfortunate and completely waste of everything. So let's get into some gameplay, and here you can see that I'm hitting 30, even, wow, it dips even to 20. It's a kind of weird situation, beside of the heat of the CPU, that I also noticed that this thing is really slow when it comes to that. Like also the menu, I was thinking maybe there's a problem with the hard drive itself, but yeah. So at this point, I'm not going to be using upscaling with anything, even PlayStation 1. I just wanted to see how it's going to be running on native resolution. If there's anything is going to be working like it should be. So the Sega Saturn was absolutely a massive disappointment. Yeah, PlayStation 1 seems to be running so far so good, but there is no audio. So what I can hear, so that's one of the things they keep messing up in many of the boxes. So PlayStation 1 seems to be running just fine, so that is good. But yeah, there are so many devices that can run us on the native resolution as this is over here. So that is a little bit of a big downside. And when trying to boot up the PlayStation 2 part with, for example, some Tekken 5, yep, that doesn't boot up at all. I can see my LED is blinking, but that's it. So let's see if I can reset this freaking thing. Otherwise I need to wait and load up the full device again, but no. Oh, there we go. Here's the message. Yeah, can we end the progress? That would be very nice, so we can try a different game. Oh boy, what a mess. Hey, wait, what? What's happening? Whoa, something is booting up. It's freaking unbelievable. It crashed, but now it boots up. Or is it messing with me? Okay, it seems to be booting up. And it also seems to be slowing down like crazy. It's the same situation, you know, you can hear that it's running full speed and then slowing down with like hitting some bottleneck, and I'm guessing that has to do with the hardware they're actually going to be using. Oh, no, this is not going to be playable at all. Oh, this is really bad. Wow. Yeah, no, this is not going to be a pleasant experience. So yeah, the next logical step would be PlayStation 3 to check out, but yeah, even with the N100 is not a capable chipper for PlayStation 3 emulation. Sometimes I just love to boot it up and to check it out, but yeah, if PlayStation 2 doesn't run, it's impossible or pointless to actually check out PlayStation 3 at that point. So let's see if we can reset it. Oh, that seems to be working fine. And we're getting another error, yeah, okay, but it does go back to the main menu itself. I hope so, at least. Panasonic 3DO, and oh man, also this runs really bad. That is a little bit of a downside. And also kind of surprising, because you would say that PlayStation 1 runs, so Panasonic 3DO, normally like Panasonic 3DO should be playable on an N100 chip without any problem. And I think we even can upscale to 640 by 480. But no, unplayable, like many stuff on here. Okay, and then we're going to be a little bit of PlayStation portable gaming, and let's see if we can just run a basic game with the full 60 frames. We do have like a crazy amount of screen tearing, but that can be fixed with a setting. But at this point I just wanted to see on native resolution that we can even play this particular game, and not doing any upscaling at this point, because I'm just going to be honest, I'm kind of done with it. Because every single upscaling we tried, it's just going to be one freaking nightmare. But yeah, basic PlayStation portable games can be played on this. So I was really curious what happens if we're going to be booting up the Soul Calibur on native resolution. Is this going to be a great experience? And let's see if we can just have a full speed, or is this going to be an all kinds of shenanigans that we have seen before with other systems. We do have some dips to 39. It's like a minor, I think, yeah, this is going to be an overall minor dip in the beginning, but beside that. So yep, we can do a little bit of upscaling if you want to at this point, but I am not going to be trying it. So far, most of the systems that are a little bit demanding. Oh, there we go again. So this thing has so much problems with many systems. Can it at least run Doom? Yep, it seems to be running Doom on 40 frames per second. What? There's even dipping there, whatever. So, but it seems to be having a little bit of a problem, because you can see sometimes some flickering even with the recording. But yep, we can play Doom. That is even possible, of course. But you can play this on a freaking calculator now. But let's get into some GameCube, and I did notice a lot of hiccups and problems. Let's see if we can even play where the controls are. But it suffers from a lot of slowdowns. Playing this on native resolution at this point. Well, I need to get used to the game. This is just a fun game to play. Time Splitters 2. I can still remember that I actually played this on the PlayStation 2. Time Splitters was such a really iconic series. Oh. But when it comes to playing games, 8-bit, 16-bit, stuff like that, Randy mentioned at the beginning of this video, is no problem whatsoever. It's quite unfortunate, because there is seriously something wrong with this box, because we normally with the N100 we can do some really cool emulation and even have a little bit of an upscaling with some modern systems. But this thing is one massive overall freaking nightmare or disaster of a device. And I'm just saying that I think that has something to do, first of all, with the temperature of the device, or maybe also they are using not a great hard drive, because they are using this very prehistoric 500GB version in the new enclosure. But so far, this is what you're going to be getting when it comes to emulation performance. I wanted to do a very extended, let's say, overview of it, but I think this makes no sense doing it, with a simple reason, because everything runs really crap when it comes to the modern systems. So at this point, I'm finding it just fascinating to see how they can manage to mess this up, because this is just one freaking nightmare. And by the way, what a spaghetti with all of the cables and craziness. But let's do a quick teardown, because I just wanted to see what is going on inside of this mini PC. Is this thing broken, or what is going on? Is there no active cooling? So let's do a quick teardown. And I know a lot of you really love it when I just rip stuff apart to see what is in the inside. I can just feel that the temperatures there was like showcasing into the specs is absolutely accurate, because you can feel how freaking hot this device is. It's just not that point I can hold it or some kind of in my hand, but it's just really hot. And that is indeed not normal. I have seen this situation with the first generation Super Console X with that really tiny, I think it was called the J4125 chipset. That was another problem. The thing was getting like 100 degrees, but that was to do because this thing was really tiny. But I just wanted to see in the inside what is going on. Is there no active cooling? Because normally that is the case, that we do have active cooling in these devices. So, okay. So that is the 512 gigabyte derriere or whatever it is, but this is the Windows part of it. Yeah, and that is what I'm not going to be checking out at this moment because I wanted to focus when it comes to the device itself. Let's see if I can reach in so I can remove the second layer of screws. Okay, there we go, different one. They are going to be the longer version, so we can't mess it up like changing them out or some kind. Okay, we got 4 of them, so we can replace the SSD if you want to. I want to say fairly easy, but yeah, fairly easy. Yeah, it's fairly easy because you can just leave this part in. But for now, we're going to be ripping this thing apart and seeing what's going on over here. Okay, need to be very careful. Not going to be losing anything, but that is weird. Why do I have this feeling there is something wrong with? Oh, I got this thing sticking to my hand. Let's see if I can rip this thing apart. Come on. Oh, it was this. Ah! Okay, I'm seriously burning my hand now on this bloody thing. That's how hot it gets. Ah, seriously, like this is not. Oh, ooh. Seriously, like that hot it is. Oh man, this thing is indeed 80 degrees. But then it's the question, okay, is this a faulty fan? Or what is going on? So let's boot it up again. Okay, so let me get myself burned again by this freaking thing. Okay, plug it in the power. And it seems to be that the fan is spinning. So that is not going to be the problem. But what we can actually do is just leave it as it is, boot up hard drive and see if this still gets this crazy temperatures. Yeah, when you're looking into, let's say, the Batocera again, it doesn't boot up into Batocera because it doesn't recognize my hard drive anymore. And that's something I have seen before. Yep, that is exactly what I wanted to tell you, because it's really bad. And I mean, in particular when it comes to the old crap they're using when it comes to the hard drives, it's just one of those shenanigans that we need to live with. Man, oh man. The weird thing is that this thing doesn't even spin up when you're going to be actually playing into Batocera. However, now with a different story and a different problem, I've been booting up my different drive. It shows Kinhank, but it doesn't do anything at all. So yeah, when it comes to, let's say, the over emulation performance was a nightmare, but also after that, it stopped working somehow. So yeah, okay. The conclusion is that I was really excited to test this product out, but it is one massive disappointment. And not for the controller, because the controller itself is absolutely great. There's nothing to complain about that. It's more the complaint about the product itself when it comes to the hard drive. They should just stop making these 500 gigabyte ones with the old crappy hard drives, because you can see in this review it's just broke down and it cannot be recognized by the system anymore. And the hard drive is not like the biggest problem, because the Kinhank Mini is just heating up like crazy, thermal throttling, and this is happening just all the freaking time. I did a teardown with you all just to see what is in the inside of this, and it does have like an active fan, but somehow or it doesn't spin up, or there is something wrong with my version over here. So this is actually what we're getting. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this disappointment, and it would be great to see you in the next video.